In this video, Lee is going to begin on the patch builder.
Right, so I had said we're going to be basing it very heavily off of our UnityDispatcher. So let me close up some of these other classes that I have open that we're not going to need right off the bat. So that will clean these up. Let's go ahead and take our UnityDispatcher, copy it, go up to our train system, paste it. We're going to rename this one. This will be our patch builder. Let's open it up. Rename this to PatchBuilder. Change its namespace to be train system. So go ahead and add the necessary using statements. Duplicate this. And everything builds successfully. All right, now the biggest thing to know with this is we had mentioned several times, priority queue isn't going to cut it for us. So we're going to get rid of the priority queue and we're going to change this into a list. We're going to get an error because it can't find list. So let's add list. This will be system.collections. Go ahead and convert this priority queue to a list. That will make that part happy, but it will make other things unhappy. Now, inside of our update, for now, I'm going to kill off the rest of this part. And I'm going to set this up so that we only run a single item per update. So I will change this while to an if. Get rid of this count. And then instead of doing DQ, we're going to look for the very first element in the list. We're going to run that element, and then we're going to remove it. So q.remove, and we're going to remove q.element 0. Now, this is going to be a temporary solution. Notice we have no logic in here. I'm also going to get rid of the start and end time. We're not going to need it. So get rid of that. And I had mentioned we're going to put all kinds of logic in for determining the order in which these queues or patches are going to be created and whether or not they're going to still be created based off of the direction that the camera is pointing and the distance that they are from the player. But right now we have no player, so we can't really put that in. And we don't have a train manager that's feeding a lot of patches into the queue. So if I were to put that logic in right now, it really wouldn't make a lot of sense. So we'll come back and add that after we get the train manager in place. But the other thing that we will have to do down here is instead of using enqueue, we're going to add, and we're going to add one of our dispatches. So what we have to do is create that dispatch. So our dispatch, instead of being a Unity dispatch, is going to be a patch dispatch. And we're going to take our dispatch and we're going to set its train patch equal to our patch. And we don't have patch yet because I didn't add it up here. So instead of taking in a priority, we're going to take in train patch, call this patch. Let's go ahead and fix this down here, see how it's throwing a fit. And we're adding our dispatch. We don't need to add a priority here. And we also want to return a patch dispatch, not a Unity dispatch. So that should make this bit of code happy. We also want to do one additional check. that's going to make sure that our queue does not already contain this particular dispatch. So we're just going to make sure that we'll do a check to see if it's there. If it's not there, we'll add it. If it's already there, then we're just going to return the dispatch and get out of this. So I build that. Everything builds successful. Give it a last look. And let's make ReSharper happy. We'll just use the object initializer. So go ahead and clean up this. Nice and green, which is good. Let's go to train demo. And we'll be able to use this same code like we did before. I'm going to get rid of the recycle because I've already proven that that works. But right now, if I were to run, we're not utilizing our patch builder yet.
Right.
To use our patch builder, we're going to have to revisit our train patch. So we'll go to our train patch, and where we're calling setup mesh here, we're going to change this line of code. Basically, we're going to call our patch builder. We're going to say queue a UnityDispatch. I'm going to have to change the name of that just for fun. And we're going to say the action that we want to perform is going to be our setup mesh. And we are going to pass in a priority, a patch. And we're going to pass ourselves into it. So let's go ahead and fix that patch builder where I've done queue unity patch and queue patch dispatch. Refactor this. So now go back to train patch, make sure all my errors are gone. So basically all we're doing, we're just queuing up a patch. We're saying that the action that we wanted to do is going to be this setup method. So we're just passing this functionality in, and then we're telling it that this patch is the one that it needs to reference when we do any of those checks for distance and relation to the camera angle. So I should be able to go into Unity now, hit play, wait for the train generator to initialize, and it looks like it initialized, but it didn't create any patches. Now, there's a very good reason why it didn't create any patches. And that would be because somebody forgot to go in to the train demo and go into the update method. I can get rid of that code. And actually, I'll do it in fixed update, just because it's not something that we need to be running every single second. But we need to tell the builder, the patch builder, to update. The patch builder only processes the queue on an update. So if I don't call the builder's update,
Right,
it doesn't get run. And the reason why we do this type of system is because we expect the stuff that's inside of the patch builder or the UnityDispatcher to be or to contain Unity API calls. And this ensures that whatever we queue up in those two classes only happens from the main thread of Unity as opposed to some sort of worker thread. So let's try that again. Cross my fingers. Hey, look at that.
all right.
And you notice that it didn't all flash in instantaneously either. There was a little bit of lag between each one.
Mm-hmm.
You guys might not have seen it depending on the capture rate, but on my side there was just a little bit of delay for each patch coming in. But that was because awesome. The reason for that is the fact that we're using the fixed update, which means by default it's running at roughly about 50 times a second. So each one of these patches had about 1 frame in between each one of them. So go ahead and close that out. So that is pretty much it for our patch builder and our patch dispatch. So those two classes are done.
So from here, where do we go over to the terrain manager?
I'm trying to think about that. I think we're going to take a little sidetrack
Okay.
for a sec. It's not going to be much, mostly because the train manager, its purpose in life is deciding when patches need to be created and when they need to be visible or not
Oh, we're
created.
going to get a character in so we can start running around?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be able to test the train manager without a character.
This is very true. All right, sounds like a good idea then.
Okay.
All right, well then with that, that is going to wrap up this video, and we'll see you guys in the next. Thanks a lot.